Do do da 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 dum da 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 dee da da da. The Five Pillars. On November 4th, 1979, 66 American citizens were taken hostage when the United States Embassy in Tehran, Iran was breached and overrun. I began my freshman year of college in August of 1979, and one of the courses I took that semester was medieval history, a course that included basic information on Christianity, Islam, and the Crusades. Though the U.S. military draft had ended in 1973, until 1975, the U.S. still had deep standby, and in 1979, when I turned 18, males were still required to register for the draft. Was I concerned that I might be drafted? You bet, but I was far more concerned for our hostages and that we might enter a jihad with the Ayatollah Khomeini's zealots. The hostage crisis coincided with my formal introduction to Islam, a learning curve that has steepened and grown significantly since my 1960s single-digit years when I knew who the good guys were during the Crusades of 1095 through 1699. When my daddy's gamete joined my mama's gamete in 1960, the United States population was 89% white and 93% Christian. The stats for Bloomington, Illinois, the town where I spent the first decade of my life, was 97% white and 98% Christian. From September of 1966 through June of 1970, my only non-white classmate was Greg Valentine, a boy of Japanese descent. I attended Oakland Elementary, a school that had 0 African-American students until September of 1970, when school district lines were redrawn and a single bus brought some diversity to Oakland. The single bus load included an African-American brother and sister, and the welcome those two received from their Oakland Elementary classmates was the embodiment of a stereotypical Deep South George Wallace anti-segregation campaign. While the sister was merely harassed by her fellow students, the brother was forced to defend himself with his fists more days than not. Neither the brother or sister were in my grade, and in August of 1971, my family relocated 700 miles east-southeast to Aspen Hill, Maryland, a Washington, D.C. suburb where we moved into a rental home. Aspen Hill's Brookhaven Elementary was far less homogeneous than Bloomington's Oakland Elementary and was shockingly different than my K-4 years. The area around our Aspen Hill rental was far more heterogeneous than what I'd known, though white folks and Christians remained a definite majority. The Grenoble Drive rental was temporary, and in February of 1973, we moved into a brand new house a few miles north of Randolph Road on New Hampshire Avenue, where my little sister and I began attending Stonegate Elementary, while my twin brother and sister went to Argyle Junior High, and my eldest sib attended Sherwood High. Spring of 1975, Sherwood had a minor race riot during which a firearm was brandished. The police were called, and the riot quelled without injury. The day of the riot, an SHS senior in my neighborhood described the fracas as being between the rednecks and the N-words. Yeah, that's the word he used. I began attending Sherwood in August of 1975, and Mr. Ryer, my English teacher, brought in the arrested rioter to speak to us. The young man said that he went out to his car, grabbed his hunting rifle, and brought it into the cafeteria to stop the violence with a show of force. Makes me wonder how many other students had firearms in their cars or lockers. During my junior year at Sherwood, we had a foreign exchange student from Iran. I can't help but wonder what happened to him during and after the revolution. Prior to August of 1979, my information about Islam came from that 89% white, 93% Christian U.S. demographics popular culture. A popular culture which, in short, proclaimed that Christians were good, non-Christians were not, and though good people could be any race, white folks were the backbone of the United States. Yeah. In 1976, construction began on a Muslim Community Center, MCC, at 15200 New Hampshire Avenue, Silver Spring, Maryland, just around the corner from my parents' house where we 7 kennels lived. Concurrent to the center's groundbreaking, the nonsensical rhetoric started, the rhetoric that is as old as human civilization, where the majority is fearful of a minority. My mostly Christian, mostly Caucasian neighbors began whispering to one another their fear that the MCC might host events that could prove dangerous to those of us that were not Muslims. That, in short, they feared that the MCC might better be labeled the JCC, or Jihad Community Center. The curriculum of my medieval history course included reading the Gospel of Mark from the Bible, along with tenets of the Prophet Muhammad from the Quran. 3 months into my freshman year of college, the sections of my medieval history class that dealt with Islam became extremely relevant when, on November 4th, 1979, the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, Iran, was breached by Islamic fundamentalists who were outraged that the United States had aided the totalitarian Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi's creation of SAVAK, the Shah's secret police, and given the Shah and his family refuge in the USA when they had fled Iran. The U.S. hostages were held 444 days until January 20th, 1981. That was my introduction to Islam, but fate gave me the opportunity to, if not unlearn the us-be-them paradigm, to at least recognize and fight it. June of 1980, I met the woman who in 1986 became my wife. Durga, as I like to call her, grew up 58 miles, 90 kilometers north of NYC in Brewster, New York, or what U.S. boomers might recognize as that girl's hometown. Married and living in an Atlanta suburb in 1986, I met her Brewster friend, Tim H. Tim had a layover in Atlanta before flying to Morocco, where he would spend the next 2 years in the Peace Corps. While in the Peace Corps, Tim met Keltoum, and after reassuring U.S. authorities that Keltoum was marrying Tim because of Tim rather than a means to enter the USA, Tim and Keltoum married and began their life together in the States. Durga and I moved from Atlanta to Indianapolis, Indiana, then in 1998 to the small city of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Over the years, Durga had corresponded with Tim, and fate, being capricious, brought Tim, Keltoum, and their 2 children not only to Cedar Rapids, but just up the street and around the corner from our house. Their younger child and our second son became fast friends, which they remain to this day. Tim had converted to Islam, and 1 year he invited us to the Mother Mosque, the oldest mosque in North America, for Eid al-Fitr, the celebratory feast that follows Ramadan. Prior to visiting the Mother Mosque, we ran into Tim while grocery shopping, and he introduced us to Tahi Tawil, the Mother Mosque imam who garnered national attention in January 2016 after he invited then President-elect Donald J. Trump to visit following Trump's ongoing inflammatory and defamatory comments about Muslims. Trump declined the invitation. Below is one of the exchanges between Tawil and host David Green from January 12, 2016 NPR interview. Green: so you're saying that if he sat down with a community of Muslims, you're thinking that changed his mind about, say the policy that he proposed, which was to close the borders to Muslims coming into this country for, an indefinite period of time? You think you could change his mind there? We don't know. We don't know, but it is just a voice of logic. It's a voice of reason, and diversity in America is the source of its greatness. So the whole idea, I think, it's like this. It goes, all men are equal. That's the Constitution. We are one nation under God, and we don't see him doing that. We are not seeing him applying the Constitution. According to both the Bible and the Quran, the greatest commandments are to love the Lord God with all your heart and to love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 22:37-39 states, Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Al-Mudadi 436 says, serve Allah and ascribe no partner to him. Do good to your parents, to near of kin, to orphans, and to the needy, and to the neighbor who is of kin, and to the neighbor who is a stranger, and to the companion by your side, and to the wayfarer, and to those whom your right hand possesses. Is Donald J. Trump sick and senile, or is it his followers? With liberty and justice for